As a conceptual artist or an ideas-based artist, you come up with the idea and then you have to find a way to make it, as opposed to playing around with clay in my studio or with paint. It's the opposite. I come up with a meaning and then try to figure out how to do it. I've basically done everything for my art since I was about 18. So that was graffiti for a long time, and now it's more conceptual work. You get caught and you get into problems with other rival graffiti artists and stuff. Nothing too serious, but yeah, slightly misspent youth. That led me into photography, which led me into doing my undergrad at the California College of Arts, and then I was interested in doing a master's and found one in the Burren called the Burren College of Art. That was 10 years ago. So I've stuck around since then. I love what I do, but it's a tricky way to make a living, I suppose. It's not the easiest way.
A Fab Lab is basically a place that brings together cutting-edge making technology. So you've got everything from 3D printers, computer-controlled routers, laser cutters. So this project has brought artists into that conversation. Jim Ricks has worked a lot with kind of making objects, dealing with the ideas of copies and originals, and always looking for like a new toolkit to make new work. So he's here for 3 weeks, getting to know all this equipment, moving about a dozen projects forward and making 1 or 2 kind of final pieces.
I'm quite excited, to be honest. I've done a lot of the homework or a lot of the design work already, and we'll see how it outputs.
Fab Labs, they are inherently a place where you do go and experiment and learn and try different things, but until now, I suppose we've concentrated a little bit more on curricular activity and on enterprise-based activity. This gives us a chance to get embedded much more firmly within the artistic community. There is a lab in Madrid, a lab in Limerick, and a lab here in Derry, all working together on the project. And in each of the 3 labs, we have got an artist in residence that's come from one of the other areas. We're looking at ways of getting machines to maybe take away mundane tasks or find new materials that they might never have worked before that can be worked very easily with machines.
This is the first thing I wanted to make. I took photographs of a statue of Michael Collins in Marion Square, and I was hoping to make a large version of his nose, and this is just the model that I can then output to the right software that then 3D prints, and so we're doing that right now. I'm observing a behavior that people undertake. They rub a nose, and so the nose is shinier, so I can tell that they've done that. Why they do that, what their motivations for, I can only guess. So in a way, I'm looking at that almost anthropologically. It's like people do this, and so I'm kind of giving them I'm just giving them more of it. So it should take about an hour for the first mock-up to print, and then we're going to output it slightly larger in a bronze alloy, which is kind of cool that you can actually print in bronze. I think authorship is something more complicated than being the person who makes everything. For instance, I had a carpet made in Afghanistan recently, so I didn't actually knot the wool myself, but paid someone to do that. And of course that makes the piece more interesting because it has to do with the traditional craftsmanship in Afghanistan, and that's what the piece becomes about. So I think craft can be part of the piece, and that it actually, if I had made that myself, it wouldn't be nearly as interesting than if a family in Afghanistan, rural Afghanistan, made it. This is pretty much what Michael Collins' nose looked like. To the best of our knowledge, this is Michael Collins' nose. It was building a substructure, and then basically it was missing like a layer. It was only going to print the very beginning. So what I did is I figured out that I need to have it can't just skip a layer, right? It's not just magic. So I filled some of that in, and I repositioned it and thickened up the shell, basically, the 3D model. So that's my prototype now. There's a statue in Galway of Pádraig O'Conora. I'm proposing that they actually 3D print an outdoor sculpture. So using technology to kind of update their famous poet and writer. I think it would just be interesting to to play with technology, old and new. So it's not trying to be a new sculpture really, it's just trying to be a facsimile of an old one. It's cool. I actually kind of always wanted a 3D printer, but I didn't really know what I would do with it. But now I realize there's loads to do. It's a protest sign from Occupy Galway, done on a cardboard box and then flattened. So it's like the last sign made for the Occupy movement. And I got it from them directly, just after they were shut down. I like the way it's organized typographically, and I like the little text inside, and but it also kind of works like a screen because it's a cardboard box. So they had just kind of placed it on the ground, and it held itself up. It was about this high. So I was thinking about turning it into kind of like a piece of furniture, like a screen, like a Japanese screen. I'm really interested in public art, so some projects are too big or too expensive to make, or too outlandish. So what I do with those is I just make an image of them and I put them up on my website as a permanently kind of unrealized pieces. But yeah, that's kind of part of my process. Like objectify your ideas and look at them and kind of, spend some time with them and how to articulate them to other people, explaining your ideas to other people. I think that's really important. So I need my plinths. This is the second week. Yeah, it's. I've been working away on all kinds of different stuff. So this is just a model. Oops, it's laser cut. Just a mock-up of something, and it's more just to test the file. So this model, I included a kind of bracket to hang it on, and then I scaled that up to about as big as I could print it. I've left this part on. This actually just breaks off. It prints it that way on purpose, but to get it to this size, I needed that. So it's really interesting to play with the new material and to kind of realize this project. I've also just been checking out Derry as well, and seen some interesting things, and was talking to some other people and some other organizations and seeing what other artists are up to. There's a lot of striking things about it. It's an interesting city and an interesting area, and I'm interested in the history and the complicated history that it has. I'm organizing a mural, so hopefully paint it in about 2 weeks' time or a week and a half's time. And what I'll probably be doing is using the laser cutter here to make stencils for some of the details and some of the parts of the mural. I was walking around on Saturday. I was taking a look just kind of through some neighborhoods in Derry, and I just came across some graffiti that a kid had painted or drawn. This is drawn with a Tipex pen, and I just took a photograph of it, and I decided to etch it. So this is just etched into Perspex. So I don't know, maybe go downstairs. Yeah, it's the first time I've used this, but it's similar in concept to the laser cutter. It just uses like a router. I've never worked so hard in my life. No, just using the latest technology. Which is I think what good artists do. A lot of people say, "Oh, aren't you cheating?" And it's like, well, nobody said that to me here, but people say that kind of thing. If you use a projector to outline something and then fill in the colors. But there's evidence now that painters were doing that hundreds of years ago. Particularly with like the Dutch painters and that kind of thing. So David Hockney's the famous English painter, written a book on it. Actually, done a lot of research on it, and built a case that they were using lenses. Vermeer was another really scientifically approached his way of projecting to create like incredibly realistic paintings.
Sometimes whenever there's a lot of information, you have to take it in stages. So we'd look to maybe take this bit, this center section, and then this bit, and run it as 3 files. Errors were detected. So it's not made a good job of that. It's not attempted it at all. So if we were to do the same thing, but with sections, it might stand a chance. I'll just click on the G and see if it's a complete G. Well, it's not. We can see that there's it needs closed vectors. I was looking at simplifying it, but it doesn't do it justice. It takes away the legibility of it completely. You know, it's.
Well, I mean, I could try to simplify it in Illustrator.
We can prep the machine to run.
So you want me to try to simplify?
Try and simplify one, and then we'll see what it does.
Okay.
We'll go for that. So if you want to give me a hand on the sheet, and we'll fix it down. It's down to the information that you're sending to the machine. You know, there's a lot of information there. It's tedious enough work, you know, digitally, to get a file to work just, you know, as smoothly as you'd like.
So what I've done is I've taken the file and I've just simplified some of the curves, and what it does is it gets rid of a bunch of the nodes and the points that are on our blueprint, without really changing the general feel of it being handmade and from a protest sign. Yeah, I think that's the whole point of this project, is like to bring in different needs for an artist, you know, like, so there's these weird things that I want to do with the technology, or that I can envision as possible out of the technology, and you know, it's just a new problem to be solved.
Even though he's using all this technology side of things, it doesn't look like technology. I think it's really cool. I think he's really brave, and I'm really excited to see how it's going to work out.
It's brilliant facilities. The amount of technology to have here is fantastic. It's been really eye-opening to see the opportunities that are here.
There's been already people talking to me today about coming back, and they've been design students, or there's been people who want to make fashion-based pieces, and people who want to make sculptural pieces, and a lot of them it's their first time in the door because they may be afraid of technology, or may think, I'm not a technologically focused artist. Today is about kind of opening it up and saying to artists and makers, we'll make that next step for you. You come with your ideas and we'll show you how this equipment can be used as just part of your everyday toolkit.
So, this is one of the panels. But yeah, so you get the idea. It's like a good height piece of furniture, you know, screen. These would be attached with a hinge next to each other. You know? And stained and sanded, of course. The details here will be sanded and stained, so I think it will look more the color of cardboard, a little bit darker. So yeah, it's my little monument to the Galway Occupy movement.